mood at all, but hey, hi, hello. I always aspire to those people who can do makeup, while talking about the true crime case. Homegirl has no skills, but Homegirl can eat, and what a delicious, delicious meal we have in front of us. Hi everybody, I'm Maya and this is a new segment where I eat last meals and I discuss the case behind the person. As this is just pathetic, I have brought other snacks, more olives, yay! Can't wait for that smell to kick in again. But just looking at this delicious last meal, one olive with a pit inside, which is very hard to find. By the way, just saying, no complaint, just saying. So what can we say about the person that chose one single olive with a pit inside, not like, unpitted, no, with a pit inside. Basic human being who just wants to suffer and to, just have to fucking nibble on that olive around that pit, even for his last meal. And then clearly gonna starve, clearly not gonna be full. So let's dive into his fucking story, shall we? While I eat more olives with pits in them. Just the smell, it's kicking. So, definitely such a joy, because you have to eat around the pit. Such a joy. How do people do like ASMR where their mouth kind of looks nice and it's just you don't see the food all the way inside the mouth? No, I cannot promise you that. I can definitely not promise you that. Also, I'm eating olives, you can smell, you can feel all of the feels as well. I didn't like olives for a while. Okay, you don't give a fuck about that. Why am I not diving into this case yet? I know podcasts, YouTube channels kind of cover this case. It's because it is pretty bland of a case, but it's also one of those old-timey. So, Victor was born in 1935 in Michigan. His mom dies when he is 6 years old. Disgusting. His mom dies when he is 6 years old. So that's obviously like a trigger immediately as an early child. Let's just say early child, like it's an early bird. And then something happens that happens to a lot of serial killers, a lot of just killers in general, and that is like a very unstable childhood in a sense of moving a lot. So like just moving around. During his young days, he lived in between like his grandfather and his father. His grandparents were actually said to be like really like nice. They just didn't let him do as he pleases because he's a fucking child. However, his dad was an alcoholic, so like that instability of like living with an alcoholic father, having no mother, and then moving in between the grandparents and the dad kind of like every few weeks. So it's not only his grandparents and his dad, at some point his uncle, so like his mom's brother, kind of picks him up as well and moves him in with him, but then his dad protests and says like, no, it's better if he lives with me, he's dead, an alcoholic, it's great. So he just constantly has unstable living situation. Again, like many killers, he thought he was amped and ready for the Navy. So he spent about 2 years in Navy, didn't really live that up to his expectations, so he left. Since the age of 16, he starts doing small thefts. He starts burglarizing shops, nothing extreme, until he gets caught for that car theft and actually spends some time in prison. After he gets discharged from prison in 1960, he gets like these odd jobs. He really just didn't want to work. It's again the pattern that we see like in a lot of killers, where they need a structure, they need like the military structure, the police structure, and this is why they strive to do those jobs, which they would really suck at because their moral compass is zero. But they really fucking need structure because they didn't have it, because he moved houses like 20 times. So he does like odd jobs as a stock clerk, working as a kitchen helper, and then he gets a job as a janitor. And he was fired from this job. This is just the best quote. It was a case of a lot of standing around, talking and not applying himself. And there was a lot of areas that were never touched. Just like the man just prioritized what he wants to clean, what he doesn't. What is the problem? Now when he doesn't have a job, he's like, okay, what else can I do? I was kind of okay at thefts before they caught me. So he, gross. He gets like, remember checks? Yeah, he gets a bunch of those under his name. Of course, they had to be under his name. But he kind of starts forging them. And he forges one of them to get himself a gun. And we know that this is leading to nothing good. He gets a gun and he moves from Michigan to Iowa. And he finds accommodation in this boarding house. Lord, I can't even hold my fucking olive. Boarding houses, if you want a really good case, Dorotea Puente is like a really good one. Boarding houses were like kind of like between hostels and like cheap flats. So nobody would ask you many questions, but like they would usually kind of agree with you for that cheap rent, or, you know, give them health benefits or pay something to them. So usually the rent was cheap for a reason, so this was just like in the shittiest area of town. Now he's in Iowa, he is a new man, he tries to get himself a car, but of course he's broke, so he goes back to his old tricks. He uses that, you know, checkbook and tries to forge somebody else's signature and name on top of it, but people notice. So he tries to get it from the car dealership, they notice. He tries to take a loan for the car, again they notice, so he steals the car. At this point I'm so done with these olives, like the smell and the taste is killing me. It's like an immersive experience, it's like VR. It's just like talking about the guy and just really truly understanding. There's nothing much to you, like why were you so basic? Now we're finally coming up to crime. He steals a car. Important fact, sort of. Fuck this story. He goes to his boarding house. Now, remember Yellow Pages? Wonderful, wonderful book. Great stuff. Heavily recommend. So at this point, he just doesn't care. He just does not, like, he's just bored. And what bored people did back then was just flip through Yellow Pages. Except his idea is to flip through these Yellow Pages and find the victim. So he's kind of going in like alphabetical order looking for a doctor. So the first doctor on the list that he calls doesn't pick up the phone, but Dr. Bertels, so under B, picks up a phone, and Victor tells him his wife is super sick, can he come for a home visit, like they need medication, can he please like urgently come. Dr. Bertels luckily actually leaves a note for his wife, notes down the full address, and leaves a note where he is going, which will prove to be useful to the police in the future. Now this doctor doesn't come back home that night, so next day the wife calls the police. They obviously immediately go to the address that he put on the paper, so they go to examine Locust Street. But Feguer is gone and the police launches this search. And the wife shortly after that, a couple of days after, gets a call from the voice she doesn't recognize telling her husband is dead. So they manage to trace that call, luckily, to a payphone. And the police actually goes, interviews witnesses, and somebody from the pharmacy has witnessed the guy in like a white coat with a stethoscope making the call, and his fingerprint was on the payphone. But that guy wasn't a doctor. The doctor, just like from the faces they've seen, the doctor was the person driving the car. So Victor has been dressing as doctor because, again, once he got rid of Dr. Bertels, he will try to cash out his checks, and, well, he thought in his dumbass head that it will be more plausible if he looks like a doctor. It's like doctors don't have to dress up with a stethoscope going to a home visit. No, it totally won't look like the most weird fucking thing when you're on the street cashing out a check in a bank with a stethoscope on. Completely normal. Just a normal fucking day in that town. Now, 11 days later, he goes back to his old tricks. He is at a car dealership in a different state. He's in Alabama, trying to sell this car because, of course, he has evidence. He has fucking DNA of the person that he has killed being in the car. The guy from the car dealership just looks at his disheveled fucking looks and it's like, yeah, this person is trying to sell it. It kind of looks shady, it looks seedy. So he calls the FBI and they arrest Victor. A few days later, searchers find the body with one single gunshot wound to the head in like a narrow lane in Illinois. Again, completely different state. This guy just likes to travel. It's his work now, it's his job. So the case goes to trial. He pleads something that I have never heard about until this case. It's called nolo contendere. Nolo contendere is when defendant does not accept or deny responsibility for the charges, but agrees to accept punishment. Just say guilty or not guilty. Don't be a fucking basic bitch. Then he says he wants to plead guilty and get it over with. Great, smart, very smart. And then, like, once he actually consults, like, his lawyers and shit, he's like, oh yeah, no, not guilty. Definitely not guilty, was in a different state. Now, I don't know if this was his imagination or it was one of those lawyers that were defending him, but they invent like a whole new person. It isn't Victor that has killed Bertels. No, it's this guy called Alice Duque. It's like, no, this is when you go for John Smith. You don't find a name that hasn't been given to a person yet. Hermione Granger in this fucking room with these olives. I cannot. I will not eat olives for a solid amount of time since this day. Solid. This one is particularly disgusting. This one is sour. Oh god, it's killing me today. Killing me. Shit I do for YouTube. Okay, where was that? So, it's Alice Duque. Right? Just imagine. So he meets, so Victor met this drug addict, during his fucking time, he's in Iowa, a newcomer. He meets his drug addict, he allows him to, stay with him in the boarding house. And that particular night, Alex Duque needed drugs, so he was like, yeah, Yellow Pages, go call me somebody. And then when Bertels entered the house and went to the room to attend to his supposed wife, Alex Duque was there like a fucking... Alex Duque was there like a wolf in Little Red Riding Hood. And he was just like, yeah, cure me. And then Victor just shot him from behind. And then transported his body and whatever, disposed of it in a different state. All bullshit because of witnesses. And because it just sucks as a story. Just invent a better fucking story, mate. I swear there's something in these olives. I'm gone. To give him a death penalty, hence why we are here eating fucking olives. He did things pretty quickly back then. He only spent 10 days in prison. And every single guard that sort of attended to him during those 10 days said he was a model prisoner. Great, round of applause. His lawyers actually tried to get John F. Kennedy to pardon him, because at that time only a president could pardon you and for you not to be executed. Kennedy actually apparently reviewed the document and said that the crime was that brutal that there's no chance that he's going to pardon him. Which, I mean, we've seen more brutal crimes, but I get it. He was just like, not today, man. Your luck has run out. So all he wanted as his last meal was one single olive. Now, so sorry. Sorry, other olives. So sorry. He just wanted the one. He wanted a single one. This was awkward, okay. So, he only wanted one single olive with a pit in it. Because his mindset, because he wanted an olive tree to arise from his grave as a sign of peace. Now you're thinking that's crazy. It is. But you will realize why it's a bit less crazy than you think it is. So now let's dive into this beautiful, beautiful olive. Let's just truly experience who he was in the last minutes before hanging. Fun fact, he was the last person to be executed in general, not just hung in Iowa. So he was hung in Iowa State Penitentiary, 15th, 1973. Now, what a lot of you might not know is the last meal, sometimes they can eat even a couple of days before they're hung, but usually it is kind of the night before and then they're hung early in the morning, like in this case. So the whole night he has spent sitting with the priest and just, I don't know, praying for his soul, whatever the fuck, pretending he's Christian and he's great now. And then at 5 in the morning they brought him to the gallows and they hung him. And after he was pronounced dead, the authorities found one single pit in his pocket. And that is why he has thought that an olive tree is going to spring out of his grave, because he thought he was gonna get buried with a freaking pit. But no, that's not how things work. They buried him in some basic ass suit, because apparently they're like, no, you don't get what you want, you get the suit. This is it. His cause of death actually also said that it was like a fractured cervical spinal column. I don't know, did they not want to accept that they just hung a guy? But hey, I guess they can do whatever the fuck they want once they go through with his death penalty. And he was marked, he wasn't just put in a suit, he was actually put in an unmarked grave. So nobody really technically knows where he has been buried. He is quite literally just famous for a single olive. Good job, nailing it. Humanity, great. And after his death, like a lot of journalists and just governmental bodies have actually fought to abolish death sentence in general. And it has been in Iowa. 40 years have actually passed since another person has been executed on like a federal territory, and that was in Indiana, and that is Timothy McVeigh. And I plan to cover Timothy McVeigh very soon as I find his last meal. His last meal is particular, and it's kind of, I don't know what to tell you. I just ate a bunch of olives. I need to change the taste in my mouth. I will most definitely need to change the taste after eating Timothy McVeigh's last meal. Why do I condemn myself to this? I don't know. Just nobody does it. Nobody just like does one meal, one case. No, everybody's just like, oh my god, let's react to this one olive. Ha ha ha. No. How about you eat 100 other olives and then eat that one olive? Or not. Because I've just done it for you and you have seen the pain in my eyes. There's a pain in these eyes. Please recommend other people's last meals. Which ones do you find interesting? Which ones do you want me to cover? What should I do? You command. You rule my fucking life. And I eat and make grimaces, and you see what's inside of my mouth. That's appealing, apparently. But yeah, I have nothing else to tell you and nothing else to say. And here's a bit of an olive for you, and that is commemorating the great United States of America. What the fuck am I saying? That's it. No, that's it. I definitely need to get the fuck out. So, bye guys. Bye. Oh, bye. Victor Feguer. Oh, bye. Oh my god.